Good morning, everyone. Today's session will be about figurative language. What's the difference between literal language and figurative language? The literal language is the language that you say exactly what you mean. You make no comparisons and you do not exaggerate or understate the situation, which means you are saying exactly the words without trying to make an image from it or without comparing between two things. While figurative language, you do not say exactly what you mean. You compare, exaggerate, and understate the situation. We have different types of figurative language. We have similes, metaphors, hyperboles, and other figures of speech to make your writing more exciting. Now let's start by reading these sentences and try to understand the difference between the literal language and the figurative language. Okay, the first one. Grant always turns in his homework. Grant always turns in his homework. This sentence is a normal sentence. He's not trying to make an image. He's not trying to compare between two things. He's not trying to exaggerate. He's just giving information directly, literally. While the second example, the water was rising in the river because of the rain, is also a literal language sentence. Okay, no figurative language is mentioned here. While here, when we read these sentences, the first one, the snow was coming down by the bucketfuls. He's comparing, or he's trying to show to you how the snow was coming down hardly. So he's saying the snow was coming down by the bucketfuls. We have 7 types of figurative language: similes, hyperbole, alliteration, metaphor, personification, onomatopoeia, and oxymorons. Now the simile, first one. It's comparing two unlike things using the words like or as. For example, her eyes were like stars. Here I'm comparing her eyes to stars and I'm using like. Susan is as gentle as a kitten. I'm comparing her character to a kitten and I'm using as. While a metaphor is also comparing between two unlike things, but you're not using like or as. Calling one thing another, saying one thing is something else. For example, here is a line when he fights. I can say he is like a lion when he fights, but I removed like and I said immediately that he's like a lion. This is a metaphor. Her eyes were sparkling emeralds. Here I'm saying that her eyes are like sparkling emeralds, but I'm not putting the like in the middle. I removed it, and like that it's a metaphor. Hyperbole. Exaggeration so dramatic no one could believe it, overstate to emphasize a point. This bag weighs a ton. Of course the bag does not weigh a ton, but I'm exaggerating, to try to tell you that the bag was really heavy. I have told you a million times to clean up your room. Of course his mother didn't tell him a million times, but she asked him several times to clean up the room. Alliteration. Repeating of the same letter or sound, especially consonant sounds, including tongue twisters, which means I'm starting words after each other with the same letter or the same sound, like Warren was worried when Wendy was waiting. Personification, giving human characteristics to things that are not human. For example, the angry Waters slapped the house. Of course, the water cannot slap because water is not a human being, but I'm giving water one of the human's characteristics. The sun smiled down on us. The sun cannot smile because she's not a human being, but I gave the sun one of the human's features or characteristics. Onomatopoeia, the use of a word to describe or imitate a natural sound made by an object or action. Words that sound like they mean. For example, when I say the buzzing of the bee, buzzing or the buzz is the sound of the bee, and I'm writing it in words. The oxymoron or oxymora are the words or phrases in which contradictory or opposite terms are used together. I'm using two contradicting words, two opposite words, but they are giving me a meaning together. Like for example, when I say jumbo shrimp, act naturally. Are you going to act or to be natural? But when I put them together, they are giving me a new meaning. Now, this is like a short practice or a short quiz to do. You have 1 minute to try to figure out, is it a personification or a simile or a metaphor? Okay, what kind of a figurative language is used here in these sentences? Okay. The first sentence, the streetcars are like frosted cakes. I'm comparing the streetcars to frosted cakes, and I'm using like, so this is a simile. The west wind dances down the road. The west wind cannot dance because it's not a human being, so this is personification. A train is a dragon that roars through the dark. A train cannot roar because it's a thing, not a human being. And at the same time, I'm trying to make a comparison between the roar of the train and the dragon. So I said a train is a dragon without using like or as, so it can be a metaphor or a personification. The band played to a small crowd at the concert. The band played to a small crowd at the concert. Okay, this is an oxymoron because we're saying small and crowd at the same time. She's as tiny as a mouse. I'm using as, so this is a simile. Her blonde hair shined like the sun. I'm using like, so this is a simile. Susan suddenly stretched slowly. We are starting the same, all the words with the same sound, so this is alliteration. This is the second practice test for figurative language. And here are the answers for it. Okay, my dear students, thank you and have a nice day.